Marcus bid an astronomical sum and won the Phoenix tier. As he accepted the glowing red gem, he smiled, a cruel, satisfied smile. Sarah understood now. Marcus wasn't just collecting random artifacts. He was hunting for all 5 Phoenix tiers. If he succeeded, he would become the most powerful fire mage in history, able to control every flame, every fire, every Phoenix line ability. He would become unstoppable. And in that moment, as Sarah watched her former fiancé gloat over her stolen heritage, she made a vow. This wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. This was about stopping a tyrant before he could rise to power. Marcus Thorne wanted to command fire? She would show him what true fire looked like. She would show him the fury of the Phoenix reborn. The fight was coming. And Sarah Blackwood was ready. The shadows that she used to ignore. She saw the guards harassing street vendors. She saw the inequality and corruption she had been too naive to notice before. This city needs more than just Marcus removed, she whispered to Raven as they walked. It needs to change. One problem at a time, Raven replied. First, we figure out what he's planning. The black market auction was held in an abandoned theater on the edge of the city. Despite being illegal, it was attended by some of Ashenvale's wealthiest citizens. Guards were bribed to look the other way. Politicians sat in private boxes. And in the center of it all, wearing his decorated general's uniform, sat Marcus Thorne. Sarah's fire flared when she saw him, but she controlled it. Not yet. Lydia was there too, dressed in expensive silks and jewels. She laughed at something Marcus whispered to her, completely comfortable in her stolen happiness. The auction began. Magical items were displayed and sold, enchanted weapons, spellbooks, artifacts of power. Marcus bid on and won several items, spending enormous amounts of money without hesitation. Where is he getting that kind of wealth? Ash whispered. A general's salary isn't that high. The Blackwood Grimoire, Sarah realized. He must be selling the spells inside it. Her family's sacred magic, being sold piece by piece to criminals and corrupt nobles. The rage inside her burned hotter. Then the final item was brought out. The auctioneer announced it with great fanfare. The crown jewel of tonight's auction, the Phoenix Tear, a legendary gem said to contain the essence of eternal flame. Sarah gasped. The Phoenix Tear was a family heirloom, something her grandmother had shown her once as a child. It had been locked in her family's vault. Marcus must have stolen it. That artifact is part of a set, Elder Kane had told her once. 5 Phoenix Tears, when brought together and activated, could grant someone the power to command all fire magic in the world. Elder Kane helped them plan their infiltration of Ashenvale. You cannot simply walk through the front gates. You're still banished on pain of death. There's a black market auction happening in 2 weeks, Raven said. She still had contacts in the city who fed her information. A lot of wealthy collectors will be there, including General Thorne. If we can get inside, we can see what he's buying and why. Perfect, Ash grinned. I can get us fake identities. I still have connections in the forgery business. They spent 2 weeks preparing. Ash created false papers identifying them as wealthy merchants from a distant kingdom. Raven taught them all the proper etiquette for dealing with Ashenvale's upper class. Ember practiced staying hidden and invisible when needed. Sarah trained harder than ever. She worked on controlling her anger, channeling it into focus rather than wild flames. She couldn't afford to lose control when they got to Ashenvale. The night before they left, Elder Kane gave Sarah a gift, a beautiful cloak made of fabric that seemed to shimmer like fire. This will hide your magical signature, he explained. No one will be able to sense your phoenix fire unless you want them to. Thank you, Sarah said. For everything. You saved my life. No, child. You saved your own life. I simply showed you where to look. Elder Kane smiled. Now go. Show them that Sarah Blackwood is not dead. Show them she's reborn. Return to the city of betrayal. Traveling back to Ashenvale felt surreal. Sarah kept expecting guards to recognize her, for people to point and scream traitor. But hidden beneath her magical cloak, with her hair dyed darker and her posture changed, no one gave her a second glance. The city looked the same as when she left. Beautiful golden buildings, magical street lamps, bustling markets. But now Sarah saw it differently. She saw the homeless people in. Raven taught her hand-to-hand combat. Magic is powerful, but what happens if someone catches you by surprise? You need to be able to fight without flames. Ash taught her about strategy. Your enemies think you're dead or destroyed. That's your advantage. We need to be smart about how we use it. And Ember, the little fire sprite, taught her joy. Fire isn't just for fighting. Ember would say, creating beautiful shapes and patterns in the air. Fire is life. Fire is warmth. Fire is hope. News from Ashenvale. One evening, a hooded traveler arrived at Haven's Edge. He brought news and supplies from the outside world, but he also brought information that made Sarah's blood boil. Captain Marcus Thorne has been promoted, the traveler announced. He's now General Thorne, head of all military forces. And there's talk he's engaged to Lydia Kane. Big wedding plan for the spring. Sarah felt her fire surge. They were getting married, using her family's grimoire to gain power, and now they were going to have a happy ending? There's more, the traveler continued. General Thorne has been collecting magical artifacts from across the kingdom. Expensive ones. Powerful ones. Nobody knows why. Raven frowned. That's concerning. What would a military general need with magical artifacts? Nothing good, Ash said darkly. That night Sarah made a decision. She called together her friends, Ash, Raven, Ember, and a few others she had grown close to in Haven's Edge. I need to go back, she said. Not for revenge. For justice. Marcus is planning something, and if he's collecting powerful magical artifacts, it's going to hurt innocent people. I can't let that happen. We're coming with you, Raven said immediately. Absolutely, Ash agreed. Adventure. Ember squeaked excitedly. Sarah felt tears in her eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude. She wasn't alone anymore. She had a new family, one that chose to stand by her, planning the return. But it was different now. It wasn't the tame, controlled power she had before. This fire was alive, fierce, and hungry for justice. Elder Kane appeared from the shadows, not surprised at all. There it is. Your phoenix fire has awakened. I don't understand what just happened. You stopped trying to be who you were before, Elder Kane explained. You accepted your anger, your pain, your desire for justice. That's what your phoenix fire feeds on. Not hatred, but the burning need to protect and defend, to burn away corruption and heal what is broken. Sarah looked at the flames dancing on her palms. They didn't hurt. They felt like coming home, training her new powers. The next few months changed everything. With her phoenix fire unlocked, Sarah trained every day with Ash, Raven, and Ember. She learned things about her magic that she never imagined possible. Her fire could heal, yes, but it could also purify. When Ash showed her a plant corrupted by dark magic, Sarah's flames burned away the corruption without harming the plant itself. That's incredible, Raven said, watching the demonstration. Dark magic corruption usually requires months of cleansing rituals. Sarah also discovered she could detect lies. When someone spoke a falsehood near her, her fire would flicker and change color. Elder Kane explained this was the phoenix fire's natural ability to reveal truth. But the most surprising discovery came when Ember accidentally set fire to a training dummy. Sarah instinctively reached out to stop the fire, and instead of extinguishing it, she absorbed it into herself. The flames flowed into her body, making her feel stronger. Phoenix fire can't be used against you, Elder Kane said. All fire recognizes you as its master. Sarah practiced every day, pushing her limits. She learned to create shields of flame, to send fire arrows at targets, and to sense heat signatures of living creatures even through walls. You were in the Royal Guard? Sarah asked. Did you know Marcus Thorne? Raven's face darkened. I knew of him. Everyone thought he was a hero, but I always felt something was off. He was too perfect, too concerned with his image. When I was being arrested, I saw him standing in the shadows watching. He looked satisfied. A chill ran through Sarah. What do you mean? I think he was the one who framed me, Raven said quietly. I was getting too close to his illegal activities, but I could never prove it. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. Marcus had destroyed more lives than just hers. How many others had he hurt? The first spark returns. That night Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Raven's words. Marcus wasn't just a liar and a thief. He was systematically removing anyone who threatened his plans. How many innocent people had suffered because of him? The anger inside her grew hotter and hotter. Sarah got out of bed and walked into the forest. She needed to hit something, break something, scream at the sky. Why? She shouted into the darkness. Why did this happen to me? I was good. I was kind. I helped people. And this is what I get. The ember inside her chest flickered. I loved him. Tears streamed down her face. I trusted Lydia. They were my whole world, and they threw me away like garbage. The ember grew warmer. It's not fair. Sarah fell to her knees, her whole body shaking. I didn't deserve this. None of us deserved this. And then it happened. The ember inside her chest exploded into flame. Fire burst from her hands, not the gentle healing fire she used to have, but wild, powerful flames that turned the night into day. Trees around her didn't burn. Instead, they seemed to glow with health and strength. Sarah stared at her hands in shock. The fire was back. Her magic was back. Sarah was sitting in the village garden, trying to meditate, when a shadow fell over her. She opened her eyes to see a tall man with dark skin and silver eyes. He wore black clothes and had tattoos that seemed to move across his skin. You're Sarah, right? The new girl. His voice was smooth and friendly. I'm Ash. Shadow Mage. Well, former Shadow Mage. Got kicked out of the night court for refusing to assassinate an innocent family. Sarah didn't know what to say. This man had just casually mentioned refusing to commit murder like it was nothing unusual. Ash laughed at her expression. Don't worry, I'm one of the good guys. That's why I got kicked out, remember? He sat down next to her. Elder Kane told me to come find you. Said you might benefit from training with someone closer to your age. He's wise and all, but let's be honest, the man is ancient. Despite herself, Sarah smiled. It was the first time she'd smiled in weeks. There it is. Ash grinned. I was starting to think you've forgotten how. Come on, let me introduce you to the others. Ash took Sarah to a training ground where two other people were sparring. One was a young woman who moved like liquid, her attacks flowing like water. The other was a tiny creature, barely 3 feet tall, that glowed with red and orange light. That's Raven, Ash pointed to the woman. Former royal guard. She found out her commanders were selling weapons to criminals, reported it, and got framed for the crime instead. And that little firecracker is Ember. She's a fire sprite. Ember flew over to Sarah, circling her head with excitement. New friend. New friend. You smell like sleeping fire. Wake up, wake up. Raven approached more cautiously. She had short black hair, dark skin, and a scar across her left eye. Ash says you were framed by your fiancé and best friend. That's rough. The king of Ashenvale ordered the execution of the entire Blackwood family. But your great-great-grandmother was clever. She cast a powerful spell on all her descendants. She sealed away their phoenix fire, leaving only simple healing magic. The Blackwoods became harmless healers, and the persecution stopped. Sarah's mind raced. So the ritual that Marcus had performed, it didn't take my magic. It just added another seal on top of the one already there. Exactly. Elder Kane smiled. They thought they were stripping you of power, but they actually just reinforced a lock that was already in place. Your true magic is still inside you, Sarah. It's been sleeping your whole life, and now it's time to wake it up. The painful journey begins. Learning to unlock her sealed magic was the hardest thing Sarah had ever done. Elder Kane explained that breaking through centuries-old magical seals required immense focus, physical endurance, and emotional honesty. You must face your pain, not run from it, he told her. Your anger, your betrayal, your heartbreak, these are not weaknesses. They are fuel for your fire. Every morning, Sarah trained with Elder Kane. He taught her to meditate, to reach deep inside herself and find that tiny ember she had felt in the forest. Some days she felt nothing. Other days she felt a flicker of warmth that disappeared as soon as she noticed it. Weeks passed. Sarah grew frustrated. It's not working. I still can't feel my magic. Elder Kane remained patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, child. You're trying to undo 200 years of sealing. Give yourself time. But Sarah didn't want time. Every night, She dreamed of Marcus and Lydia laughing at her. She imagined them in Ashenvale, living their perfect lives while she suffered in exile. The anger burned inside her, but she couldn't turn it into fire. Then one day something changed. Meeting her new family. After breakfast, Grandmother Willow led Sarah through the village. People waved and smiled at her. A little girl with purple skin ran up and handed Sarah a flower. A man with wings nodded respectfully as they passed. They walked to the largest building in the village, a circular stone structure covered in climbing vines. Inside, the air felt thick with ancient power. Symbols glowed on the walls, and in the center of the room sat a man. He was neither young nor old. His skin seemed to shimmer like heat waves, and his eyes held the same timeless quality as the mysterious stranger from the forest. Sarah knew immediately this was Elder Kane. Sarah Blackwood. His voice echoed in the room. The last daughter of the Phoenix line. I've waited a long time to meet you. You're the one who found me in the forest, Sarah said. I am. And now it's time for you to understand what you truly are. Elder Kane gestured to a chair. Sit. This will take some time. Sarah sat, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and hope. 300 years ago, Elder Kane began, the Blackwood family was the most powerful fire mage clan in all the kingdoms. But they didn't just have regular fire magic. They carried the blood of the phoenix, the eternal flame that cannot be extinguished. They could heal anything, burn through any curse, and their fire showed truth by burning away lies. Sarah leaned forward. But I've never heard this story. My parents only taught me healing. Because your ancestors chose to hide. Elder Kane's face grew serious. Kings and queens feared the Phoenix line. How could they rule if their lies could be burned away? How could they maintain power if the Blackwoods could heal any wound and reveal any deception? So the royals hunted them. Hunted us. Yes. 200 years ago. Welcome to Haven's Edge. Sarah woke up to sunlight streaming through a round window. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then the memories came flooding back, the betrayal, the trial, the forest. She sat up quickly, her heart pounding. The room was small but comfortable. Wooden walls carved with beautiful patterns, a warm quilt covering her, and the smell of fresh bread coming from somewhere nearby. This wasn't a dream. She was really in Haven's Edge. A gentle knock came at the door. May I come in? It was Grandmother Willow's voice. Yes, Sarah said, pulling the quilt around her shoulders. The old woman entered carrying a tray with breakfast, warm bread, honey, fruit, and tea. You slept for 14 hours. Your body needed rest after everything you've been through. Sarah's stomach growled at the sight of food. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Thank you. But I don't understand. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Grandmother Willow sat on the edge of the bed and smiled. We know enough. Elder Kane has a gift for finding people who have been broken by injustice. Everyone in Haven's Edge has a story like yours. We were all betrayed, accused falsely, or hunted for things we didn't do. All of you. Sarah looked out the window at the peaceful village. Every single one. The man who bakes our bread was accused of poisoning a noble who actually died of his own greed. The woman who tends our gardens was cast out of her family for refusing an arranged marriage. The young boy who delivers messages was sold by his own parents to slave traders. Grandmother Willow's eyes grew sad. The world can be cruel to those who are different or inconvenient. Sarah felt tears building again. They took my magic. I'm useless now. Eat your breakfast first, Grandmother Willow said firmly. Then we'll talk about your magic. The truth about her power. Haven's Edge. After 3 miles of stumbling through darkness, Sarah saw lights ahead. Not the harsh magical lights of Ashenvale, but soft, warm fires. She emerged into a clearing and gasped. A village stood before her, but it was unlike any place she had ever seen. The houses were built into trees and carved from stone. Gardens grew in impossible patterns, and the air hummed with gentle magic. People moved through the streets, all kinds of people. Some had pointed ears like elves. Others had scales or feathers. Some looked completely human but glowed with internal light. They all turned to look at Sarah as she entered their village. An old woman approached her. She had silver hair braided with flowers and eyes that seemed to see everything. You must be Sarah Blackwood. We've been expecting you. How did you know my name? The woman smiled. Elder Kane told us you would come. I am Grandmother Willow. Welcome to Haven's Edge, child. Welcome to your new beginning. Sarah looked around at the curious faces watching her. These were outcasts like her, people who had been rejected, betrayed, or cast out by the world. But here in this hidden village they had found safety and family. For the first time in days, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she wasn't alone after all. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to rise from the ashes of her old life. But that night, as Sarah lay in a soft bed in a stranger's home, one thought kept her awake. Marcus and Lydia thought they had won. They thought they had destroyed her completely. They had no idea what they had actually created. You will. The stranger stood and pointed deeper into the forest. Walk 3 miles north. You'll find a village called Haven's Edge. Tell them Elder Kane sent you. They will help you remember who you truly are. Wait, Sarah called out, but the stranger was already gone, vanished like smoke. A spark of hope. Sarah sat alone in the dark forest, her mind racing. Phoenix fire? Hidden magic? Sounded impossible. But then again, a week ago, she would have said it was impossible for Marcus and Lydia to betray her. She looked down at her hands. They felt empty without magic flowing through them. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the pain and the emptiness, she felt something. A tiny ember of warmth that refused to die. Maybe the stranger was right. Maybe they hadn't taken everything. Sarah pushed herself to her feet. Her body ached, her heart was broken, but she was still alive. And if there was even the smallest chance that she could reclaim her power, she would take it. Not for revenge. Not yet. First, she needed to survive. She needed to become strong again. But as she stumbled north through the dark forest, following the stranger's directions, one thought burned in her mind. Marcus and Lydia would pay for what they had done. Not just to her, but to everyone they had hurt in their quest for power. I'm not finished yet, Sarah whispered to the night. This isn't the end of my story. It's just the beginning. The forest seemed to whisper back, and for the first time since her arrest, Sarah felt something other than despair. She felt determination. She felt anger. And deep down beneath all the pain, she felt that tiny ember growing warmer. Her fire wasn't gone. It was just waiting to rise again. The pain in her shoulder where the brand burned was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. How could Marcus do this? How could Lydia, her friend since childhood, betray her so completely? Sarah collapsed under an old oak tree as the sun set. She was so tired. Tired of crying, tired of hurting, tired of living. Maybe it would be easier to just stop, she whispered to the darkening sky. As if answering her despair, wolves howled in the distance. Sarah closed her eyes. Let them come. She had nothing left to fight for anyway. But death didn't come. Instead, she felt warmth. Gentle heat surrounded her, and she thought for a moment that her fire magic had returned. But when she opened her eyes, she saw a figure standing over her. The stranger wore a dark cloak with a hood that hid their face. In their hand, they held a small flame that danced without fuel. Who are you? Sarah asked weakly. Someone who knows what it's like to be betrayed. The voice was neither young nor old, neither male nor female. Someone who sees potential in ashes. I have no potential. They took everything from me. The stranger knelt down, and Sarah caught a glimpse of kind eyes beneath the hood. They took nothing. They only sealed what was already yours. The blackwood line carries ancient magic, child. Phoenix fire. It cannot be extinguished, only suppressed. Sarah shook her head. Phoenix fire is a myth. My family magic is just normal fire healing. Is it? The stranger touched Sarah's shoulder, right over the traitor's brand. The pain vanished instantly. Your ancestors hid the truth to protect themselves. But you, Sarah Blackwood, were meant for more than healing paper cuts and cold fevers. You were meant to burn away injustice itself. I don't understand. I would never betray a Shenvale. Sarah pleaded during her trial. Please investigate. None of this is real. But Marcus stood in his decorated uniform, tears in his eyes, playing the role of the heartbroken lover. I loved her. I trusted her. But the evidence is clear. My personal feelings cannot stand in the way of justice. The judges believed him. Why wouldn't they? He was a war hero. She was just a healer. Lydia testified too, dabbing fake tears from her eyes. Sarah changed. She became obsessed with power. I tried to help her but she pushed me away. I'm so sorry I couldn't save my best friend from herself. Sarah felt her world crumbling. These were the two people she loved most, and they were destroying her with smiles on their faces. The punishment. The sentence came down like a hammer. Sarah Blackwood was found guilty of treason. Her punishment would be threefold. First, her magic would be stripped away. Sarah screamed as the royal mages performed the ritual. It felt like her soul was being torn apart. Fire was part of her identity, part of her very being. Taking it away left a hollow, aching emptiness inside her chest. Second, she would be branded. They burned a traitor's mark onto her left shoulder. A broken circle that would identify her forever as someone who betrayed her kingdom. Third, she would be banished. Sarah was given 1 hour to leave Ashenvale. If she ever returned, she would be executed on sight. Sarah stumbled through the city gates, her body weak and her spirit broken. People she had healed, people she had helped, threw stones and garbage at her. They called her a traitor, a monster, a snake. I'm innocent, she whispered. But her voice was lost in their angry shouts. Lost in the wildwood. Sarah walked for hours, not knowing where to go or what to do. The wildwood forest stretched before her. Dark, dangerous, and endless. She had no food, no money, no magic. She had nothing. Sarah? She's too trusting, too innocent. She'll never see it coming, Marcus laughed. But it wasn't the warm laugh Sarah knew. It was cold and cruel. Sarah's hand froze on the doorknob. Her heart began to pound. Once we get the Blackwood Grimoire, we'll have access to the most powerful fire magic in existence, Marcus continued. Her family has guarded those secrets for generations. They're worth a fortune on the black market. And Sarah? Lydia asked. She's useful for now. After the wedding, I'll have legal access to her family vault. Then, Marcus paused. Then she becomes a liability. We'll frame her for treason, get her exiled or executed, and split everything. Sarah's basket slipped from her fingers. The honey cake splattered on the floor. The door flew open. Marcus stood there. His handsome face twisted with annoyance rather than surprise. Behind him, Lydia looked at Sarah with cold eyes. No guilt, no shame. You're using me? Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. Marcus sighed. I was hoping to wait until after the wedding, but I suppose now is fine too. He snapped his fingers. 6 guards appeared from the shadows. Arrest her. What? No. Marcus, please. Sarah backed away. Sarah Blackwood, you are under arrest for treason against the crown, Marcus announced loudly, his voice echoing in the hallway. Guards, take her to the dungeons. The web of lies. Everything happened so fast. Sarah was thrown into a cold cell. She screamed, cried, and begged, but no one listened. The next 3 days were a blur of confusion and terror. Marcus and Lydia had built their trap perfectly. They presented evidence to the royal court, letters with Sarah's forged signature, promising to sell magical secrets to the enemy kingdom of Norvania. They showed ledgers of money deposits into an account under her name. They brought witnesses who swore they saw Sarah meeting with foreign spies. All lies. All perfectly crafted lies. A healer's happy life. Sarah Blackwood loved her life in Ashenvale. Every morning, she walked through the golden streets of the magical city, greeting neighbors and feeling the warmth of belonging. She worked as a healer at the royal infirmary, using her fire magic to cure sickness and mend wounds. People called her the gentle flame because her magic never burned, it only healed. At 25 years old, Sarah had everything she ever wanted. She had a respected job, a cozy apartment filled with books and plants, and most importantly, she had love. Captain Marcus Thorne, the kingdom's most decorated war hero, had asked her to marry him 6 months ago. His dark hair and strong jaw made hearts flutter across the city, but he chose her. Simple, kind Sarah. You're too good for this world, Marcus would whisper, kissing her forehead. That's why I need to protect you. Sarah also had her best friend Lydia Kane. They had grown up together, shared secrets under blanket forts, and dreamed about their futures. Lydia worked as Marcus's assistant in the Royal Guard. And Sarah thought it was perfect, her two favorite people working together. Life felt like a beautiful dream. But dreams can turn into nightmares when you least expect it. The night everything changed. It happened on a cold autumn evening. Sarah left work early, planning to surprise Marcus with his favorite honey cakes. She hummed a happy tune as she walked to the guard headquarters, a basket swinging on her arm. The building was quiet. Most soldiers had gone home. Sarah climbed the stairs to Marcus's office, her heart light with love. But when she reached the door, she heard voices inside. She recognized them immediately, Marcus and Lydia. "Are you sure she suspects nothing?" Lydia's voice came through the crack in the door.